Thanks for having us. I appreciate it. I know you're all very busy.
Thank you, guys.
You've got fantastic products. So
Thank you.
Really appreciate you showing them all to
Yeah.
us. First question I have. Actor Sebastian Shaw is featured on the vintage card collection F7310. The head sculpt does not match his likeness. Are there particular reasons for this?
Yeah, it's at least when it comes to head sculpt stuff, it's there's a lot of factors come into play, whether it's the reference we had or the inkjet and everything like that. And like obviously our intent is to obviously always match and do that. So yeah, it could have been a number of factors with that. With the likeness for that, like we've hit stuff like that on Black Series as well, where sometimes like it could be as simple as like the inkjet is just 1 millimeter. So that kind of stuff just happens, and yeah, it's something that we will work on too.
Awesome. The only other question I have is the second question I have is the Black Series Force Spirits 3-pack comes with Hayden Christensen in the likeness of Anakin Skywalker. Why was he chosen instead of Sebastian Shaw?
The main reason for that is that the new canon, the newest version of that, the one that Lucasfilm has most recently put out, has Hayden Christensen as Anakin in that scene. So that was the main reason why it's a canon version. It's the one that's out right now. It's the one that's on Disney Plus. It's the at the moment canon version. That was the biggest reason why we ended up going with Hayden Christensen over Sebastian Shaw.
And it does kind of make sense in lore, right? That you would appear as a Force spirit of who you were when you were a Jedi and noble, etc., which is what he looked like in his Hayden Christensen form.
Yeah.
I agree.
So the
Makes
canon
sense.
makes sense.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks, George.
Absolutely. Do have a question from a YouTube fan. Can Hasbro make two versions of the exact same figure, one without the thigh swivel?
Sorry, the specific figure, or just for every figure we do, two different versions, one with and one without?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Again, it's a fan question, so we just want to know if they can, if you will.
I mean, you certainly can. It adds a lot of complications because then we have two different versions of the leg, and we kind of want to have a standard across all of our figures in both scales. Like all of vintage, we would like to have the articulation be standard. If we start changing stuff, then suddenly you have the same figure with different articulation, one that potentially has more or less articulation. There's also sometimes experiments we do with articulation. I know in Black Series, sometimes like on our Malgus, we actually don't have the thigh swivel. We have a more open ball joint, so that it's a more seamless thing where you can just rotate the entire hip in and out. It's something that we're experimenting with, and it's something that like we've done that something similar with the Stormtrooper and the Clone Trooper, where we had the shoulder pads separate on the Stormtrooper but glued down on the Clone Trooper, mainly because we just don't know how it's going to work out and we want to try to test it. Luckily it's worked out on Malgus, but yeah, again, we in general, at least in the same pack, we try to make sure that they are consistent. And yeah, we do have experiments that we do here and there to see if an improvement can be made on articulation by sometimes simplifying it, and then sometimes we find that like it's best to just go back to what we know.
I think we're also just mindful of limiting the variants of figures that are out there. We don't want to put too many variants out that completionists have to chase.
Exactly.
I guess that makes sense. Next question. Let's assume an actress has signed the rights of her likeness over. Who makes the final call if an item gets released? Hasbro, Lucasfilm, or Disney?
Yeah, so I know who you're hinting at. We've said it before. It's a great collaboration with both our partners at Lucasfilm and Disney. We work together. Honestly, like we're experts in the toy industry. They are obviously they own Star Wars. They created Star Wars. Disney are masterful brand builders and storytellers. So we all work together to decide who's going to be in the line. They have some suggestions, certainly from New Entertainment. Eric, the rest of the design team are experts in knowing what the fan community want. We come to conventions like this and listen to the fans. We do a lot of social scraping online. So we bring all of that information and cohesively decide what figures to bring to the line.
Okay, awesome, thank you. We are seeing a lot of clones and main characters lately. How does the future look for side characters and world building?
Are you in vintage, Black Series, both?
I'd say both.
Yeah. It looks great, and we continue to pepper those in. I'm trying to come up with things we've done recently. I know we've done some Tatooine Cantina aliens in Vintage recently. I'm trying to think of what they are. Obviously, we did the Mithril in Vintage a couple of years ago. In the Black Series, we've gotten as well.
Black Series, I mean, like, there's Doc Ondar. He's never really been in any show or movie, but he is a side character. He's a fairly unique one. Just because we focus in on a lot of, like, clones and main characters, we still definitely do those side characters, like publishing, gaming, all of those, like Star Killer. While he is a main character in the game, he is not part of the movies or shows and stuff like that. Would sometimes traditionally fit into that main character archetype that we've done. Then we also have like the Jabba's denizens.
So there was a petition for Belkin Jazeri, Tanvir Garin. So we revealed that at Celebration. So we know that obviously the main characters are important. There's a Make the Mains campaign. We know troop builders are important. We also know that world building is more than just vehicles and play sets. It's getting those characters in there, and so we're eager to do it all. And again, it goes back to that last question. We cohesively decide what makes sense in the line.
Exactly.
Fabulous. Hasbro Pulse is expanding to all countries in Europe, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, pricing is still higher compared to US and UK, which hurts the sales. Can this be looked at and adjusted for good? And while you're at it, protective shipping of those collector items needs to be improved immediately. Those who pack the items need to be informed of the importance of the arrival of the undamaged product. It is totally unacceptable to pay more and get damaged products.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's something we're aware of. I've chatted with Volker about this. We're aware that pricing, not only in the EU, like globally, obviously inflation is a major macroeconomic factor. We know that it's impacting our cost inputs and has impacted our prices as well. We're aware that it's a tough time, and it's tough for us in the things that we're passionate about. Toy collecting as well as everything else. So we're always looking at the line, trying to bring those costs into line. We've had long conversations over the past few years with our European teams about kind of where it makes sense to try to bring that pricing in. We'll continue to have those conversations. It is interesting, the protective shipping, obviously that adds cost. So, some of these things are at odds with each other. The more we protect the items, the more they would cost. So we're trying to find the right balance of both. But we also know that shipping can be an issue. We've talked with those retailers, we pass on that information, and hopefully we'll continue to make progress.
Definitely sounds like a difficult task that you're trying to work out. So, question to the participants of the Hasbro team. Basically, if each of you could produce one item that wouldn't have to go through the approval process or discussion, what would that one item be, and what would you like to see make it to the market?
I'm going to be consistent. I'm on record for, I think, at least 5 years now saying a Black Series Joris Chabath. I loved Heir to the Empire growing up, and obviously, I think when I said that was 5 years ago. I think the first time was New York Comic-Con in 2018, and I've been consistent since then. Obviously, since that time, we got Thrawn from Rebels in the line. We've gotten a lot of publishing in the line. Mara Jade made it into the line. So,
and same with Luke with the Issalamiri.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So, that's my personal one. We'll see if it makes it through kind of that cohesive process I mentioned. But Joris Chabath, an old bearded guy with an open shirt, who wouldn't love that?
Right, I think that fits my mold, so I'm with you there.
Yeah, Joris would be a lot of fun, and that one was actually one of the ones that was top of my list. I'm trying to think now, honestly, so I grew up with the prequels. I loved Sebulba growing up. Sebulba is just a very unique little character. He's small, luckily, too, but he's just really unique. He has a lot of characters he interacted with, a lot of stuff. Then even just his pod racer, just any of the pod racers would be really, really cool. His is obviously gigantic, but it would be really cool. Just getting Sebulba. When I was growing up, when I was seeing that movie, that was one of my favorite characters. I just love the design. The fact he walked on his hands and grabs up with his feet. It just looks super cool and unique.
I think that's a good choice. I think that's what I would like to see too.
Yeah, Sebulba would be sweet.
Absolutely. What was the reason the package, the Tusken Warrior as a deluxe figure, and on a single card back. What was the? I'm not sure I understand my own question. My apologies.
No, I understand it. So it's something we do in the vintage collection, right? There are some releases that live as, that's the way to get the figure. So I'm thinking, Boba Fett or the Dark Trooper. And those are more mainline releases. When we do them as exclusive, it often takes a mainline figure and tweaks it or adds some world building aspects to it. We did this obviously last year with the Imperial Trooper, the Incinerator Trooper, Ahsoka. So the Tusken Warrior is kind of the latest in that mold. It's a way we're able to get those world building pieces out there. So it's something we've done, and I think we've heard some positive feedback from the community, so something we'll continue to do.
Awesome, thank you. How far are you with finishing the 96? 2-1B can also be repacked. Can it be repacked as the G2-1B7?
Yep. The original 96 is certainly a focus. There's a lot of focuses. It's an embarrassment of riches with Star Wars these days. Obviously, Mando Season 3 just ended. It was amazing. Ahsoka's coming up. Andor and Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett last year. We've got, the Return of the Jedi 40th this year. Obviously some more milestones down the line. Gaming is better than ever. So there's a lot of places to focus. We know that the original trilogy is, that's where Star Wars started. We know how important that is to the vintage community. The original 96, we're not going to finish it next year. It continues to be something we're going to chip away at. And obviously, in our booth, 8D8, latest addition to our original 96 lineup. So we'll continue to see more, but I don't think it'll be in the next year.
Understood, thank you. World building. Are you open to use of Trooper 4-pack sets to bring us Rebel pilots, Red and Blue Squadron, Indoor Soldiers, Scarif Attack Crew? I mean, we need more Rebels, and this setup would make it easier to bring us quite a few needed characters.
Yeah, I think that really, luckily with those troop builder packs, it's just a matter of finding the right characters, the right figures, the right offering and stuff. There is luckily a lot to choose from in the vintage collection. There are a lot of those characters, a lot of Rebel characters. Unfortunately, a lot of the troop builders tend to be those Imperials, just because there are a lot more of them, and they tend to have more of those kind of standard outfits. But as we start looking into this more, we definitely want to be able to have more Rebels. We want to be able to lean into the adversaries for the Imperials, so that you can, there's no point to troop building a whole bunch of Imperials if you have no one for them to fight against.
And some of the ones you listed are ones that we've discussed for the future, and obviously just today we revealed our Imperial Officers pack. So another edition.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's a lot of variety in that pack too. I was helping posing this. Emily did a really good job. That all the hats are removable. They each have blasters. They can be swapped and stuff like that. There's a lot of good variety and just the characters that are used there. And it's a really, really good set.
Amazing. How come we have not seen an AT-AT driver in the vintage collection yet?
What was the question?
An AT-AT driver in the vintage collection?
Yeah, I think this gets back to that embarrassment of riches, right? That he would be a fantastic addition to the line. It's something we've talked about. I'll bring back the feedback. There's just so much going on, and obviously today, Revan, gets to that gaming piece. He's on the other side. I mentioned in the panel, 5 years ago, we were going to bring Revan into the vintage collection as a repack. The community said no, so we newly tooled him. But that takes up a spot. Obviously, we've got Ahsoka figures here, Sabine and Ahsoka, new entertainment. Thrawn has long been demanded. We also, I mentioned we look online. We keep an eye on various kind of polls and brackets and research online to get a sense of what the community wants. And we really do kind of key into that, because there are a lot of figures that a couple individuals want. We look really at what the whole community is looking for. So that would be a great one, and hopefully for the future.
Yeah, and if you ever see a comment, especially in a really popular thread, thumbs up whichever character you want. The more thumbs that those characters have, the higher those numbers, the easier it is for us to be able to come to the table and be like, oh, this character's getting a lot of love and support and stuff like that. It really helps us be able to make that case when we're going to pitch.
Makes it easier to justify the build.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Last question for you. Why are you going back to the VOTC/VTSC card back style on the back of the card? That style showcased the old vintage card on the back, showing the original packaging and vintage figure.
Yeah, no, I think we realized we've been, 2018, 19, 21 to 6 years with that, cross-sell card back on the back of vintage cards. That's the longest time, I think. I'm nearly certain we've had a back of pack style. We like to change things up a little bit. Obviously, back in the aughts we had the original trilogy collection, the saga collection, the legacy collection, vintage collection for a few years. 6 years was a long time. Black Series, our longest line look, was from 2015 to 2019. So we're obviously not for the vintage collection going to change up that iconic front of pack, but it was just a long time on the back of pack. To your point, the new back of pack, which I don't know if we can see in the case, but we saw in the panel presentation, a lot of legacy there, a lot of love for that, really beautiful. So we thought it was time to freshen it up.
Understood. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Again, fantastic work. I know we fans are a pain, but we absolutely love the work you do.
Thank you.
So thank you again for your time.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Juice.
Yep. Bye.
Take care.